Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show.
For an 11th level lord, more than 90 billion mana is too little. Lin You gained more than 80 billion mana by killing the lord monsters this day. Adding in the ordinary monsters, it almost reached more than 100 billion. It seems that this guy either stored his magic energy in the kingdom or spent it all, leaving him a poor man. It's a pity that 3 of them escaped. Baidu and the others gathered around, regretfully looking at the direction in which the 3 people were escaping. They had made so many preparations, used their own methods to suppress the situation, and use surprise, but they still failed to kill all the trapped people. It is enough to show how difficult it is to kill lords with 7 goat heads or above. But immediately, they couldn't help but get excited. Although 3 escaped, they successfully killed the other 4, a total of 4 pieces of godhead, which was absolutely unimaginable before, and even more than they expected. Quick, look at what types of gods these are, Baisu hurriedly urged from the side. Yuling didn't waste any time, and directly put away the damaged 5-element ceiling formation, revealing corpses all over the ground inside, as well as 4 colorful divine heads shining with various colors of light. Then Baidu stretched out his palm, and 4 pieces of godhead turned into streams of light and gathered in front of them, namely the 4 elements: elemental, insect, humanoid, and undead. After reading this, Lin Yu's eyes lit up. He could use these 4 pieces of godhead, except for the elemental system. The Baidu people had different expressions, ranging from excitement to disappointment. Especially Fusion beside him gave a wry smile, because he is of the insect type, and he has 3 types of goat heads: elemental, humanoid, and undead, which is equivalent to being directly excluded from this godhead allocation. Haha, Fusion, you are so unlucky that you don't even have any that you can use. The beasts seemed to know about Fusion's collection of divine power, and they suddenly laughed and teased him. Others had strange faces, as if they wanted to laugh but couldn't. Get out of here, you're so good at what you get. Fusion glanced at Baisu unhappily. Then, Baidu beside him shook his head helplessly. What I lack is the humanoid type and the beast type, so I won't argue with you. With more than 8 pieces of godhead, it is not easy to collect the godhead that you can use. After all, they only lack 2 of them. In other words, Baisu had better luck. He happened to be short of an elemental piece, so he immediately said, in this case, I will take this elemental piece first. When there is a chance in the future, Baidu and I will go get you with you. Those 2 missing elements. Okay. Baidu nodded silently, not too disappointed, because for him, even if he has 1 more godhead, he still cannot become an emperor, so he is not as eager as those lords with 9 goat heads. The remaining 3 pieces should be divided between Yuling, Kinglian and Xinyu. As agreed before, each of you can subsidize 100,000 rule fragments for me and Fusion respectively. Almost no one would sell something like the godhead, so it was difficult to value it. However, they were allocated within the team, and did not need to consider these. In the end, they decided to only charge a symbolic price. Each of the 4 people gave them 100,000, which is a total of 400,000 rule fragments, which is a lot of money. Baidu obviously knew that Lin Yu couldn't get so many rule fragments at the moment, so he continued, let me help Lin Yu with the 200,000. If it weren't for him, this time, we wouldn't have been able to get it all at once. Many gods. Isn't this not good? Lin Yu was a little embarrassed. In front of these old lords, he was simply a poor man, unable to even produce 200,000 rule fragments. Not to mention 200,000. He doesn't even have 20,000 now. It's okay, these fragments of rules are nothing to me, Baidu said slowly, and I didn't help you in vain. If I find the target in the future, you have to come and help me. In the battle just now, he personally experienced the terror of Lin Yu's savage roar, which directly caused his attributes to skyrocket by 30%, and the last space blocking skill surprised him even more. If he can get Lin Yu to assist him, his confidence in killing other 11th level lords will be greatly increased. Lin Yu was not stupid and could naturally guess his intention, and immediately agreed, of course, just call me if you need it in the future. Okay, it's settled. After receiving his affirmative answer, Baidu also laughed. After some further discussions, Lin Yu finally obtained the humanoid godhead. The reason why I chose this is because both the insect type and the undead type win by quantity. The single target attack ability is not strong, and it happens to be restrained by the high defense of the plant type. For the humanoid type, it is still very difficult for him to increase his attributes after being injured. Coupled with the explosive skill of beast transformation, it is even more of a threat to him. It is always safer to have the 10% damage reduction provided by the godhead. Okay, the things have been distributed. Let's leave here quickly. If those 3 guys escape, the news will spread soon. Let's go back and avoid the limelight first. Baidu stood up, dusted himself off, and said, 4 11th level lords fell at once. Once the news spreads, it will definitely cause an uproar. If you continue to stay here, you will only attract attention from the major realms, and you may even encounter revenge from the realms where the 4 lords are, and form a group to find trouble for them. So soon, several people got up and rushed back towards the primitive world. Not long after, as they had guessed, the news quickly spread among all realms, causing a sensation in an instant. What did you say? The primitive world jointly killed 4 11th level lords. It's absolutely true. It was said by the 11th level lords, who escaped from it. Hiss. Killing 4 11th level people at once is too exaggerated, isn't it? A strong man of this level should be able to escape even if he cannot be defeated. What happened? I heard that it was the newly promoted 11th level lord from the primitive world, who used himself as bait to lure them into taking the bait. And his strength is not just one piece of divine power that he just advanced, but at least 4. Everyone was deceived by him. Lords from all walks of life kept exclaiming, and they were all discussing this sudden and heavy news. To know, the 11th level is the level next to the Great Emperor, and it is the backbone of combat power in all realms. Normally, the death of one person would be enough to cause alarm in all directions, let alone 4 of them at once. Especially the news about Lin You shocked them even more. An 11th level lord, who has just advanced for a few days, actually possesses 4 pieces of Godhead, and no one knows about it yet. This is too well hidden. When the lords who had hunted Lin You heard about this, their expressions suddenly changed. With 4 pieces of Godhead, it is already very difficult to kill them. What's more, you may also obtain a new Godhead, this time, and your strength will be greatly increased. They finally gave up their plan to snatch the Godhead, and evacuated from the border of the primitive world. It saved Lin You a lot of trouble. After leaving the secondary space and returning to the main city, saying goodbye to Baidu and the others, Lin You teleported directly back to the territory, and hurriedly took out the newly acquired Godhead. Is it integrated with Godhead, humanoid? Once integrated, it cannot be changed, so please choose carefully. Fusion. With a response, the Godhead in his hand suddenly erupted with a dazzling bloodthirsty red light. Wrapped in the colorful halo of the Godhead itself, it turned into a stream of light and entered his body, slowly merging with the 4 pieces of the Godhead. The fusion is successful. The number of gods changes, and various attributes change. Please go to the corresponding interface to check. Lin You was shocked, and felt a huge force flowing into his body, flowing through his limbs and bones. Both physical strength and 5 senses have been significantly improved. Name, Lin You. Lord. Race, human. Level, 11th level, 5/10. Strength, 500,000, plus 250,000. Physique, 1 million, plus 700,000. Agility, 658,200, plus 329,100. Spirit, 1 million, plus 500,000. Basic skills, multiple mutations, power of rules, space shuttle, rule transformation, space channel, time law, power of Godhead, all attributes plus 50%. Racial talent, physical fitness plus 20%, recovery speed plus 20%. Introduction. The Lord attribute interface records the specific strength and various skills of the Lord, which can be unlocked by 10th level lords. He did not use the more than 6,000 rule fragments obtained from hunting the Lord monster today to strengthen his agility, so the basic attributes remained unchanged. However, because of the extra piece of Godhead, all the additional attributes were increased by 10%, and he finally succeeded in crossing the halfway point of the 11th level. After the Godhead was increased to 5 pieces, the effect of the armor of creation increased again. It reduces damage by 10%, resists negative effects by 50%, and restores the power of rules by 50%. It gradually begins to show its fangs. As long as he faces the enemy of the series with which he has divine status, he will be equivalent to a permanent 20% damage reduction. Coupled with the improved physique due to racial talent, it is not that easy to kill him. It was only then that he finally had enough ability to protect himself in front of those 8 or 9 pieces of Godhead. Your Majesty, I have something to report. Just at this time, Shuzong's voice suddenly sounded outside, interrupting Lin Yu's thoughts. Come in. Lin Yu closed the interface and looked outside. After a while, Shuzong hurriedly came to him, and bowed to him respectfully. Your Majesty, I received invitations from Kanglang Kingdom and Dawang Principality this afternoon, inviting you to attend the founding ceremonies of their subordinate principalities. After saying that, he handed over 3 golden invitations. The founding ceremony of the People's Republic of China. Lin Yu took the invitation in confusion and opened it separately. It bears the signatures of Yan Lai, Sidu Jian and Ji Yunshuang. The three of them are actually going to establish a principality in the day after tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Lin Yu was surprised. He was not too surprised by Ji Yunshuang's words. After all, he had heard that she was preparing for the path to becoming a saint a month ago. But Yan Lai and Sidu Jian were different. They had just returned from the living world recently, so logically they should not have reached the 10th level so quickly. Did he get some adventure, or is it that he has the support of the Kanglang King? Lin Yu was very happy that Yan Lai and the others could reach the 10th level. After all, there have been frequent wars recently, and lords of level 10 or above often die, so it is time to replenish them. It just so happened that the founding ceremonies of the three of them were staggered, one the day after tomorrow and the two the day after tomorrow, so there was no need to worry about the dates colliding. Lin Yu thought for a moment and then said to Xu Zhong beside him, "Go and tell the envoy who sent the invitation that I will go there in person." "Yes," Xu Zhong responded and immediately resigned and left. Seeing that it was getting dark, Lin Yu put away the invitation and teleported to the palace to rest. Early the next morning, Lin Yu woke up early as usual. However, he did not go to the border of the realm again. After all, they had just killed 4 11th level lords and attracted too much attention from the realm to be on the safe side. Let's wait until the storm has passed. In addition, today is the day when his two principalities were founded. As the two subordinates he trained, he still had to come forward in person, so very quickly, with the waiter waiting on him, he got up, put on his usual clothes for going out, left the palace and came outside. "Your Majesty, the traveling team is ready to go at any time." Xu Zhong, who was waiting outside, quickly came over to greet him and said respectfully. In the square at the front of the hall, a team of well-trained flying mounts were arranged neatly, surrounding an extremely luxurious royal sedan in the middle, as if they were afraid that others would not know that it was the king who was traveling. Lin Yu glanced around the team and immediately waved his hand. "No, I'll just go there by myself, this time, just to see if those two guys are taking care of the principality." Except for Yanwu, Yin Tianj and the other 5, he supported the 6th and 7th principalities from the monthly list. These two people can be regarded as the old people in the kingdom. He was single-handedly promoted from the 8th level, and has been helping to manage local affairs. So we simply allocated the land around their territory to them to establish principalities, and let them recruit lords themselves. It has been 3 days since the joint recruitment began, and the newly built cities have basically had their lords arrive. So they chose to hold the founding ceremony today, just in time to see how far it has developed. After a brief exchange of words with Xu Zhong, he tore the space apart and disappeared. And at this time, the eastern part of Xinyu Kingdom, in the capital of Karyuan Principality, which had just been established not long ago, people were coming and going, and traffic was busy. Forces large and small came from all directions and poured into the capital. In the sky, there were many teams and lords riding flying mounts. They also merged into the teams on the street and gathered towards the temporary palace built in the center of the capital. The whole country looked lively, as if a grand event was being held. "Quick, quick, put everything in place, and make up for everything that is missing. Your Majesty will be arriving soon, so hurry up and decorate this place." In the main hall inside the palace, the newly promoted king of the principality, Song Karyuan, was shouting and directing the waiters coming and going. Tables, chairs, flower pots and decorations came in and out, and there were busy figures everywhere. At this time, an old man in official uniform hurried in from outside. "Your Majesty, the time has come. It's time to change." "Oh, yes, hurry up and change your clothes, and wash up. Your Majesty is coming in person this time, so you must not lose your etiquette." Song Karyuan slapped his head, and immediately followed the old man to leave the palace in a hurry. It was clear that he was going to hold the founding ceremony, but he seemed to be more nervous than anyone else, and wanted to do everything by himself. No way. He had already received news that King Xinyu would come in person when the founding ceremony of the People's Republic of China was held. He still had so many things to consider, for fear of causing trouble, correct? Before leaving, he turned back to look at the old man. "The guests who came to congratulate us should be arriving soon. Send more people to receive them. Don't neglect them. Many of these guests are representatives from various forces, and some of them are his lord friends, so naturally they cannot be ignored." All in all, there was a lot of things to do, which kept everyone in the Yuan dynasty very busy, but it was painful and happy at the same time, because after today, they are about to officially become a principality, which is exciting just thinking about it. The other side, just when the entire palace was busy inside and outside, on a certain path outside the capital, a not-so-luxurious carriage procession slowly moved forward towards the direction of the capital. "Brother, do you think King Karyuan would like a small family like ours?" In the most spacious carriage in the middle of the team, A man said worriedly to the middle-aged man sitting opposite. I don't know either. I can only go and talk about it first. The middle-aged man shook his head slightly. The Kaiwan Principality has just been established. It is a good time to establish relationships and show off. There will definitely be many big forces coming. If you want to gain a foothold in the Principality, you cannot miss such a grand event. If we are lucky enough to be connected with King Kaiwan, then our Li family will be able to flourish and prosper soon, and we can even develop the family business into the capital. The more the man talked, the more excited he became, and there was even a look of yearning in his eyes. As a family force in the city surrounding the capital, their biggest wish is to move their family to the capital. Even if they only get a share of the pie, it will be enough for them to successfully establish themselves and develop into one of the top powers in the Principality, especially now when the Principality has just been established and the order is not yet established. It represents the word opportunity, and it is also a rare opportunity for them to meet the new king. Therefore, in addition to the famous big forces, other small and medium-sized forces also sharpened their heads and wanted to show off in front of the new king. If they are lucky enough to win the favor of the new king, it is not impossible for them to soar into the sky and become a major force in one fell swoop. After all, there are too many forces in the capital, and it's complicated and competitive. It is not an easy task for outside forces to get involved. If you do not do well, you may be swallowed up to the ground. So to seize this opportunity, the two brothers started setting out yesterday and rushed to the capital with a lot of things to prepare everywhere, just to meet the new king and become familiar with him. That's what led to the conversation just now. And these two people are Li Xintai, the current patriarch of the Li family, and Li Xingrui, the second patriarch. The one in front, get out of the way. Sudden, while the two were discussing, a shout came from outside. The convoy jolted for a while and gradually slowed down. What's wrong? The Li Xintai brothers stuck their heads out of the carriage and looked towards the front of the team. Reporting to the clan leader, there is a traveler blocking the way of the convoy. Butler Joe is sending people to drive him away. He will be there soon. A boy trotted from the front to the carriage and reported respectfully. This unexpected incident immediately caused a dozen young tribesmen sitting in other carriages behind to poke their heads out, all of them looking puzzled. They are all the younger generation of the Li family. It was Li Xintai who specially brought them to the capital to see the world and participate in the upcoming guard selection in the capital. This is also an important opportunity for the family to build relationships with the capital. After all, the selected guards are directly under the king. Even if one person can successfully enter the guard, it is extremely happy for them. It can only be said that in order to revitalize the family, Li Xintai really took great pains and made sufficient preparations. After hearing the boy's report, Li Xintai suddenly frowned. Didn't I tell you to be kind to others? If someone blocks your way, why bother driving them away? Go, tell Butler Joe to be quiet and hurry up. Yes. After receiving the order, the boy did not dare to disobey and immediately ran towards the front of the team at a trot. Seeing him disappear into the queue, Li Xintai was still a little worried, so he immediately raised the door curtain and stepped out of the carriage. Brother, what are you going to do? Just leave this small matter to the people below, Li Xingrui said quickly in the car. You don't understand. This is already the boundary of the capital. You may encounter people from other major forces, and those high-level experts at any time. It's better to be careful. With that said, Li Xintai walked towards the front of the team without looking back. After a while, I saw a figure standing in front of the team, being blocked by a group of servants. This person is no one else. It was Lin You, who had just teleported over and planned to go to the capital of Kaiwan Principality. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to continue teleporting, a motorcade appeared behind him and drove slowly towards him. That's how this scene happened. Did you come here from other cities? Lin You looked at the motorcade in front of him with interest, but was not in a hurry to leave immediately. At this moment, Li Xintai had also arrived in front. Seeing that he was surrounded by people, he immediately yelled, "Come back here, look at what you are doing. Do you really think this is our Li family's territory?" After saying that, he immediately left the team and came to Lin You, his face full of apologies. Brother, I'm really sorry. I didn't take care of the people under my command, and you were frightened. His words were very sincere and didn't seem to be fake. Are you the leader of this convoy? Lin You looked at him silently, and immediately saw that his strength was only at the 8th level, and he should be a small or medium-sized force in a nearby city. Yes, I, Li Xintai, am the head of the Li family in Huiyuan City. What do you call me? He is in his 20s, has no apparent strength, is reasonably well-dressed, and is alone. They should be like them, coming from other places to join their relatives in the city. As for strength, Compared to the fact that the other party's level is higher than his own and he can't detect it, Li Xingtai is more willing to believe that Lin Yu really has no strength. After all, he is too young. Moreover, the monsters around the capital have been cleared away long ago. As long as they don't wander into the mountains and forests, even ordinary people can easily make their way. My surname is Lin. Lin Yu responded calmly. It turns out to be Brother Lin. I have offended you so much. Please forgive me. Li Xingtai had a kind face and did not have any contempt for Lin Yu. Instead, he extended a warm invitation. I see that you are traveling alone. You must be planning to go to the capital, right? If you don't mind, would you like to go on the road with us? Faced with Li Xing's invitation, Lin Yu was a little surprised. Because he had already concealed all his aura at this time, he looked like an ordinary person to others. Not only could he be treated with courtesy to an ordinary person like him, but he also personally apologized, which was quite interesting for the head of the Li family. Either he is a good person himself, or he knows how to survive and will never easily offend anyone who does not know the full details. It happened that he also planned to inspect whether Song Karyuan was taking good care of the principality along the way, so he smiled and replied, okay, then I will be disrespectful, that's all. Under the surprised gazes of all the servants and guards, Lin Yu got into an empty carriage at Li Xing's invitation. Then with an order, the entire team slowly started moving again, and rushed towards the capital. Brother, why are you so polite to an ordinary person? In another carriage, Li Xingrui asked in confusion. He also checked Lin Yu's aura just now, and found that he had no strength at all. It's a good relationship. Li Xingtai smiled slightly. Our trip is of great significance. If we can avoid causing trouble, we will not cause trouble, so as not to get a bad reputation of bullying others, and spread to other forces. Brother, you're here again. Haven't you done many good deeds in normal times? Haven't you gotten nothing in return? Li Xingrui curled his lips, obviously tired of hearing Li Xing's words, and was a little noncommittal. Li Xingtai smiled. It's just a piece of cake anyway, and we won't suffer any loss. Let's talk about the next trip first. At this rate, we should arrive in the capital in less than half an hour. As soon as he heard about the capital, Li Xingrui, who was sitting casually, suddenly looked serious, and his expression became serious. He has not forgotten the purpose of their trip to the capital. While the two were discussing their itinerary, Lin Yu, who was sitting on another carriage, was checking various interfaces and looking at the scenery along the way through the window. Gradually, a majestic city wall appeared in sight, and the number of pedestrians and carriages around them gradually increased. They all gathered towards the huge city gate below the city wall, and lined up in rows. The whole city was bustling with activity, like going to a market. Chief, the capital of the country has arrived. At this time, a shout came from the front of the Li family's team. Then the entire team slowly came outside the city gate, and accepted inspection by the city guards. Wow, is this the capital of the country? What a high city wall, much higher than our Huiyuan city. After a long day's journey, we finally arrived. The younger generations of the Li family in the motorcade poked their heads out one after another, looking at the city wall in front of them excitedly, and marveled one after another. Lin Yu also opened the curtains and took a look at the surroundings, and the security inside and outside the city wall. It was pretty good, at least it was in order and there was no trouble. He suddenly showed a satisfied smile. Unexpectedly, at this time, the guard commander, who was leading the team to inspect the goods at the front of the convoy, happened to look this way, and saw him sticking his head out of the car. That is, the guard commander's eyes suddenly widened. His expression looked like he had seen a ghost, and he almost dropped the weapon in his hand to the ground in fright. This abnormal behavior immediately attracted the attention of several guardsmen nearby, who asked in confusion, "What's wrong, Commander? Is there something wrong?" As soon as these words came out, the expressions of both Li Xingtai brothers, who were waiting for the inspection, changed, thinking that something unexpected had been found. To know, they had spent a lot of money for today and prepared a large amount of precious materials, hoping to use them to build relationships in the capital. If the shipment is detained, that was definitely a huge loss for them, and it made them nervous, because they had already inquired about it. Commander Kui in front of them was a popular person under King Karyuan. If they offend him, it is equivalent to offending King Karyuan, which is almost equivalent to denying them the opportunity to develop industry in the capital, and may even be suppressed. However, what they didn't expect was that the picture they imagined did not appear. On the contrary, Commander Kui suddenly broke away from the team as if he had been stimulated by something, and stumbled towards the back of the Li family's team, and soon arrived outside the carriage where Lin Yu was. Taking a deep breath, "I wanted to worship." "Okay, let's go back." A calm voice came from inside the car. Lin Yu, who had already sat back in the car, had naturally noticed someone approaching. After scanning his senses, he discovered that it was the confidant who stood next to Song Karyuan. When he appointed and dismissed Song Karyuan, he obviously recognized his identity. Commander Kui was surprised and happy after hearing his voice. Not daring to disobey, he bowed slightly to the carriage and hurriedly left the team, and returned to the city gate. Okay, don't bother checking, just let me go. He called back all his men, who were inspecting the Li family's goods. This move immediately made brother Li Xintai look confused, and they had no idea what was going on. On the contrary, Commander Kui walked towards them, with a smile on his face. You must be the first and second boss of the Li family in Huiyuan City, right? It's a pleasure to meet you. Please forgive me for wasting so much of your time. Commander Kui, it's just that we wasted your time. Now Li Xintai and the two were even more confused. They couldn't help but glance at the carriage Lin You was in, confused. What happened just now that caused a figure like Commander Kui to immediately change his attitude 180 degrees, as if he was a different person? Could it be that brother Lin in the car was not an ordinary person, but the son of a large force? They were new here and didn't dare to ask any more questions. With this doubt in mind, he returned to the carriage and continued to drive slowly towards the city amid shouts, until they disappeared into the city gate. A subordinate next to Commander Kui couldn't help but ask, Commander, they are just forces from the surrounding small towns. Why are you so polite to them? Even the other people nearby cast curious glances, full of confusion. What do you know? Commander Kui glared at them fiercely. Do you know who was sitting in the car just now? That is the person our king must bow to when he sees him. Hiss. The king must bow when he sees you. How can this be? All the guards were completely shocked, and their eyes widened. Immediately, someone reacted and opened their mouths in shock. Could it be? Hush! Silence! Commander Kui interrupted him directly. Then he came over and whispered a few words in their ears, which shocked several people and almost fainted. And at this time, the Li family's motorcade has also passed through the city gate, and arrived on the main street, where people come and go. It crosses the street amidst bursts of shouting and hawking, and drives towards the center of the city. Seeing that it was not far from Karyuan Palace, but Li Xintai and Li Xintai didn't pay much attention to this at this time, but were still discussing what just happened. This little brother Lin, I'm afraid his identity is not simple, Li Xintai said with serious eyes. I thought they were just ordinary people passing by on the road, but I didn't expect that there was such a huge energy behind them. Even Commander Kui had to be respectful and polite to them. Could he be a young master from some big force? Li Xingrui couldn't help but guess. It shouldn't be wrong. Li Xintai nodded silently. Commander Kui's strength has reached the 9th level. For him to be so polite, at least a powerful force with a 9th level strong person can do it. Then why does he go into the city with us? I don't know about that. Since he doesn't want to say more, we don't need to ask more. Maybe we can leave a good impression, and build a relationship with the forces behind him, which will be of great benefit to the future development of our Li family. That's right. Li Xintai nodded in agreement. That's all. After some discussion, the two gave up their plan to find out Lin Yu's identity. Then in a burst of rolling wheels, it drove towards the center of the capital. It wasn't until halfway in the morning that we finally arrived near the palace, on a busy street, and parked next to a dilapidated courtyard in the corner. This is the yard they sent people to rent in advance. Although it was a bit shabby, it was the best place they could rent, and it gave them a place to stay. After all, their family is weak and cannot compare with those big forces with 9th level, or even 10th level experts. It is already very good to have a courtyard close to the palace to stay temporarily. Okay, let's get out of the car, and fix it up, Li Xintai said to the entire convoy. There was still quite a bit of time before the founding ceremony of the People's Republic of China started at noon. Just enough time for them to settle down, and then go to other big forces to visit and build relationships. After all, a small family like theirs couldn't directly participate in the founding ceremony and meet the new king, so we can only enter through relationships. That's why they bring so much stuff. There were cars and people coming and going all around, and there were representatives of forces coming from all over the place. Many people even cast contemptuous glances and snickered, laughing at them for living in such a dilapidated place. Looking at the luxurious and spacious mansions next to them, they are simply like heaven and earth. Why are you so arrogant? When I am successfully selected into the Principality Guard, let's see if I don't trample them all under my feet. That's right, don't bully young people into poverty. The younger generation of the Li family on the side clenched their fists, and looked at those who laughed at them unhappily. Okay, this is not Huiyuan City, so don't cause trouble. Li Xintai sighed, knowing that the Li family was weak, and could not compare with those big families. So when I came to this capital city, where power was everywhere, I was even more cautious and didn't dare to offend anyone casually. Hope everything goes well. Alas, Li Xintai let out a sigh again, then turned around and began to instruct the servants and guards to disassemble the goods. and at the same time walked towards the carriage where Lin You was. But at this moment, there was a sudden commotion on the distant street. A large, well-equipped and powerful team appeared and rushed here quickly. There was even a flying force following in the sky, responsible for clearing roadblocks and opening a straight avenue on the street. It's the king's personal guard team. With such a big battle, is the founding ceremony about to begin? Didn't you say it won't start until noon? Why did it suddenly advance? No. Look at the middle of the team. Isn't that King Kariun? It seems to be true. Why did King Kariun appear here in person? There were screams of surprise on the street, and representatives of various forces stepped aside to make way for the guards. Everyone in the Li family, who had just arrived at their residence, also looked shocked and excited. They did not expect to see the king so soon. With such a big battle, could it be that they are here to pick up some big shot? Among the forces that came from other places, there were many small and medium-sized forces that were not qualified to meet the king. So when King Kariun appeared, it immediately caused a sensation. After receiving the news, representatives of various forces came from all over the place. When they saw that King Kariun actually traveled in such a large formation on the occasion of the founding ceremony of the country, everyone was suddenly surprised and wondered if something big had happened. Small and medium-sized families like the Li family were so frightened that they retreated behind the carriage for fear of blocking the king's journey. However, what Li Xintai brothers didn't expect was, just as they were trying to avoid it, the guards seemed to have locked their direction and kept approaching them. After a while, the entire huge team arrived outside the small courtyard where they were. Stop. After hearing an order, the team slowly stopped. An elite team ran out from behind, surrounded the Li family courtyard, and blocked all their paths at once. What's the matter? The two brothers were inexplicably frightened by this sudden situation. Representatives of other forces watching on the side were also extremely surprised, and did not understand why the king would go to this little-known family. But don't wait for them to think too much. The space not far away suddenly became distorted. A middle-aged man wearing a dark gold dragon robe appeared in the encirclement, his eyes fixed on the Li family team ahead. It's really King Kariun. It actually happened. So what happened? The crowd exclaimed. They were immediately startled by the terrifying aura emanating from Song Kariun, and immediately recognized his identity. The representatives of the small and medium-sized forces were even more excited. They did not expect to see the new king in person. Is this an opportunity given to them by God? Not to mention everyone in the Li family. All of them lost their feet and almost fell to the ground. The two brothers Li Xintai stumbled out of the team, came to Song Kariun in great panic, and bowed deeply to him. Meet His Majesty the King. Meet His Majesty the King. At this time, they were both excited and worried. I have no idea why the aloof king appears here. Did the Li family commit something that angered the king? Forgive me. Contrary to their expectations, Song Kariun ignored them. He just raised his hand slightly to let them off the hook, then walked straight past them, and walked towards a simple carriage in the distance. The next second, something happened that shocked everyone. Your Majesty is welcome. After hearing a loud shout, Song Kariun actually leaned down and bowed deeply to the carriage. Boom. The crowd instantly went crazy, with everyone's mouths wide open in disbelief. The majestic king actually bowed and saluted himself. What kind of existence was inside the carriage, etc.? His Majesty, did King Chao Yuan address that person as Your Majesty just now? Suddenly, some quick-thinking people reacted and looked at the carriage in surprise. There is only one person in the entire Shin You kingdom who can personally welcome King Kariun and address him as His Majesty. That is the ruler of Shin You kingdom, King Shin You. Could it be that? Wow! Just as everyone was shocked, the carriage door curtain opened, and a lazy figure slowly appeared, stretching greatly. It looked like he had just woken up, fighting and killing every day. Lin You hadn't experienced a leisurely journey for a long time. Unexpectedly, he fell asleep in the car without knowing it. When Song Kariun saw this, his heart was shocked and he immediately ran up to help him out of the carriage. Okay, I'm just here to take a look. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Lin You waved his hand to stop his movement, and stepped outside the carriage. He is now a demigod. Although he was sleeping just now, he is still aware of everything around him, so he naturally knows what is happening. Your Majesty has a distinguished status. How can he ride in such a dilapidated carriage? You should inform your subordinates in advance so that they can go and greet you in person. Song Kariun said hurriedly, and glanced at the motorcade next to him with a frown. This sight made the hearts of everyone in the Li family beat wildly, and they were so scared that they almost knelt on the ground. No matter how old a carriage is, it's still a carriage. What's wrong with riding on it? Lin You said nonchalantly, and they are pretty nice people. They specially gave me a ride. It's considered fate. Yes, Your Majesty taught you a lesson. Song Kariun nodded quickly, and then walked outside to meet Lin You. Before leaving, He gestured with his eyes to the close associates not far away, and then disappeared into the team together with Lin You. Get started. With a shout, the guards moved again and rushed back toward the palace. It wasn't until they disappeared at the end of the long street that Song Kaiyuan's cronies led a team to the stunned Li Xingtai. May I ask you too, are you the head of the Li family in Huiyuan City? Oh, I am the head of the Li family, Li Xingtai. This is my younger brother Li Xingrui. What are your orders? Li Xingtai reacted and asked very nervously, thinking that he was sent by Song Dynasty and Yuan Dynasty to investigate the crime. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, the man immediately waved his hand and said with a smile, "Don't take this seriously, sir. I am Gongsun Mao, the commander of the king's personal guard. On the order of the king, I came to pick up a few of them to stay in the house temporarily to participate in the subsequent founding ceremony. I don't know, are you willing to show off?" Guard commander Li Xingtai and Li Xing's expressions changed, showing shocked expressions. They had heard of Gongsun Mao's name, and he was definitely the #1 person around the king. How many powerful forces couldn't even try to curry favor with them, but now they would actually come and invite them in person. This kind of opportunity was something they never dared to imagine before, but now it suddenly came true. They were shocked and extremely excited at the same time. Don't you know that you have met a noble person? And he is also a very noble person. Yes, of course we are willing. It is an honor for our Li family to be invited by your excellency, Li Xingtai replied repeatedly. When he and Li Xingrui looked at each other, they could see the excitement in each other's eyes. Then, under the gaze of everyone around them, they led the motorcade to leave with Gongsun Mao, heading towards the most luxurious street in the capital, leaving behind a bunch of envious and jealous eyes. With the leadership of personal guards, the Li family of Huiyuan City may soar into the sky and become one of the top powers in the principality. The people who had laughed at them before were stunned, and they all stood there in disbelief. The news that King Shenyu came to the capital in person was like a hurricane, sweeping across the entire capital in an instant, and causing an uproar among the major forces. Who is King Shenyu? That is a terrifying existence that controls the entire Shenyu kingdom and has reached the 11th level of strength. Even the kings of the major principalities must respect him when they see him. Now that it suddenly came to the capital, how could they not be excited? Immediately, the major forces started to move and began to prepare for the next founding ceremony, hoping to leave a good impression in front of King Shenyu. It also made the entire country more lively certainly. None of this attracted much attention from Lin You. After learning about the establishment of the principality, and some issues with Song Kaiyuan along the way, he came to the palace that had been prepared to rest and did not interfere too much with the affairs of the principality. Even at the founding ceremony that followed, he only showed up and said a few words of encouragement. Then he left the principality under Song Kaiyuan's respectful escort, and rushed to the next principality. Until evening, he just finished everything and returned to the territory. When he clicked on the kingdom interface, he saw 7 additional principalities options, as well as information such as the revenue and beliefs provided to him by each principality every day. Lin You made a general observation. After these few days of joint recruitment, the number of lords in each principality has increased significantly, and is gradually on the right track. Counting the revenue of his kingdom, he can now obtain about 1 billion magic energy and 45 rule fragments every day, which is very close to the level of those old kings. You know, this is just the beginning, and he has only established 7 principalities. With the additional blessing of the Overlord's certificate, he can obtain more rule fragments than ordinary kingdoms. In addition, the original universe now earns more than 2,200 yuan a day, and it should take less than 3 months to strengthen the attributes to full value. 3 months. Lin You looked at the interface in front of him and muttered to himself. There are only about 9 months left before reincarnation begins. If you deduct another 3 months, there will only be half a year left. It may not be easy to rise to the Emperor level in half a year. After all, level 11s cannot be killed just because they want to. Especially those who survived are not weak and have many means of escaping. Unless he was caught by surprise like before, and several top experts cooperated, it would be possible to kill him. It seems that I still can't stay in the territory for too long. I have to continue hunting the Lord monsters. Anyway, his strength has been exposed now, so not many people should be staring at him anymore. The only ones worth noting are those lords with 9 divine heads. According to his estimation, he must at least strengthen his attributes to full value, and possess 6 pieces of Godhead to be able to fight. Let's go and have a look tomorrow. Looking at the darkening night outside, Lin You thought silently. Anyway, Yan Lai's founding ceremony was just a formality, and it didn't take much time. The remaining time was enough for him to hunt down many monsters. After making up his mind, he immediately called the chef. After dinner, he he went back to the palace to rest. Time flies. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, while Lin You went to the secondary space of the realm to collect fragments of rules. He also participated in the founding ceremonies of Yanlai, Situ Jian and Ji Yunshuang. Much to his surprise, Ji Yunshuang, who had reached the 10th level, actually had 3 fragments of the Godhead at once. In other words, in addition to the Road to the Saint, and the piece he sold to Ji Xing before, she also got an extra piece herself. No wonder I haven't seen anyone recently. It turns out he was out fighting. However, compared to Ji Yunshuang, Lin Yu was more shocked by Yanlai and Situ Jian. Fortunately for Yanlai, there are only 2 fragments of the Godhead at most, but Situ Jian was maxed out immediately, and he had 9 fragments of the Godhead as soon as he broke through. Although Lin Yu doesn't lack many Godhead fragments now, he was still shocked by the news. After asking, I found out that it was the Tsang Wolf King, who took a fancy to his fighting talent, and planned to cultivate him vigorously, and gave him all the fragments of his Godhead he had saved to improve his strength. At first, Lin Yu suspected that Kanglang King wanted to raise Situ Jian to the 11th level, and then kill him to seize the Godhead. But after some inquiring, I learned that the Tsang Wolf King did not lack the insect-type Godhead. It made him extremely confused, and he always felt that something was not quite right. Lin Yu, just wait, I will catch up with you soon. At the border of Kanglang Kingdom, Situ Jian, who came to see Lin Yu off, said seriously, me too, I will catch up with you soon. Yan Lai from the side immediately interjected. It was already afternoon, and the founding ceremony of the 2 of them was almost over, so they had time to see them off. Okay, I'll wait for you to reach level 11. Lin Yu smiled slightly. She said the same thing yesterday, when she went to attend Ji Yunshuang's founding ceremony. He couldn't help but sigh. His own existence seems to have given these 3 people great motivation, and they all even regard him as a goal to surpass. It seems that he has to work harder, otherwise he will be caught up by them sooner or later, especially Situ Jian. Now that he has received strong support from the Kanglang King, he is even more powerful. It is only a matter of time before he is upgraded to the 11th level. Thinking of this, he said, okay, you have just established the principality and there are still many things to deal with. I won't stay here to disturb you. See you another day. Okay, see you another day. After saying goodbye to each other, Lin Yu didn't stay any longer, tore apart the space and disappeared directly. However, he did not rush back to the territory, but teleported directly towards the border of the realm, preparing to collect more rule fragments in the secondary space. After these 2 days of intermittent fighting, and the output of the original universe and the kingdom, he has accumulated more than 8,000 rule fragments, adding in the more than 6,000 yuan that I was reluctant to use before. It just reached about 15,000 yuan. After some consideration, he finally used it to strengthen his agility attribute first. Name, Lin Yu. Lord. Race, human. Level, 11th level. 5/10. Strength, 500,000, plus 250,000. Physique, 1 million, plus 700,000. Agility, 728,000, plus 364,000. Spirit, 1 million, plus 500,000. Basic skills, multiple mutations, power of rules, space shuttle, rule transformation, space channel, time law, power of Godhead, all attributes plus 50%, racial talent, physical fitness plus 20%, recovery speed plus 20%. Introduction. The Lord attribute interface records the specific strength and various skills of the Lord, which can be unlocked by 10th level Lords. The base agility of nearly 730,000 has greatly improved his ability to escape and react. At least it won't fall into passivity due to too slow speed like before. The basic attributes of the royal family are basically above 800,000. In the savage roaring state, they can exceed 1.5 million, which is equivalent to the strength level of 5 gods. In terms of physique, because the racial talent is slightly higher, it is not a problem to be tied with the strength of the 6-piece Godhead. What surprised Lin Yu was, after 5 days of cultivation, the fragment of the Godhead in the original universe finally matured, peeled off from the world tree, and at the same time grew a new fragment of embryo. As long as he comes for 10 more days, he can establish the remaining 3 principalities to the level of those old kingdoms. So what he lacks most now is time. Lin Yu's eyes were slightly focused, and he kept traveling through the void. With his current space travel distance of 5,000 kilometers, it doesn't take much time to reach the border of the realm. The only thing worth noting is that the power of rules consumed by this ability is much higher than that of ordinary skills. Even if he had a 50% increase in the recovery speed of the regular power of the armor of creation, he would not be able to travel infinitely over long distances, and would need to stop and rest for a while before continuing. Just stop and go, all the way. Finally, nearly an hour later, I arrived near the border of the realm, and at a glance I saw the space gates deep in the monster plane. Some have just appeared, while others are on the verge of collapse, which should be a sign that the space core is about to be destroyed. However, it was beyond Lin Yu's expectation. Just when he was considering which 11th level space to enter, there was a loud bang deep in the monster army, and began to vibrate violently. Even the monsters that were close to the depths fled like frightened birds, instantly throwing the entire scene into chaos. What happened? Why did these monsters suddenly riot? Did something happen deep down? Look over there. A new space gate has appeared. The lords who were forming a team to exterminate the monsters outside kept exclaiming, and looking into the depths, I saw huge cracks suddenly appearing at the extremely unstable junction of the 10,000 Realms continent and the monster plane, spreading rapidly in all directions. In just the blink of an eye, extremely strange space gates were constructed deep in the plane. Why do you say weird? Because those space doors are actually golden, and there happens to be one each from the 6th to the 12th level, and it is also connected to the edges of the major realms, attracting countless lords to come one after another. Immediately afterwards, a reminder suddenly sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Lords, please note that large monsters appear in the space and activate the final mission, plane invasion. Please go to the large monster space to find and destroy the space core for 30 days. Those who participate in the mission will receive 10,000 rule fragments after completing the mission. Those who destroy the core will receive Godhead, designated X1 after completing the task. There are 3 large space cores. Please be careful. 10,000 rule fragments, 3 pieces of designated Godhead. Lin Yu was shocked when he heard the prompt in his mind. I didn't expect that the system would activate the final mission at this time. Is the monster invasion about to reach its final stage? If that was the case, then he would have to hurry up. Otherwise, once the monster invasion passes, he will suddenly lose a way to quickly obtain resources. It will take him a long time to strengthen his attributes to full value and recruit all the legendary troops. Fortunately, the deadline given by the task is 30 days. Obviously, it is not easy to complete this task, otherwise it would not be possible to give it such a long time. Let's go in and take a look first. Not far away, several 11th level lords came after hearing the news, and rushed directly towards the golden space door. For the 11th level lord, the temptation to designate a godhead is too great. It even attracts them far more than the chaos secret treasure. After all, the secret treasure of chaos is too illusory for them, but the designated godhead can actually improve them, especially those lords with 9 goat heads. If they can get one of the designated goat heads, then they can take the final step directly, and become the beings who stand at the top of the continent. This is enough to drive them crazy, so very quickly. After receiving the news, lords from all walks of life appeared one after another and gathered towards the golden space gate, immediately making the junction of realms lively. Lin Yu. At this time, a cry rang out. Ji Yunshuang, whom he had just met 2 days ago, was walking with several 10th level female lords from the primitive world, and soon came to Lin Yu. I've met King Shen Yu. Several female lords bowed slightly to Lin Yu. Yes. Lin Yu nodded towards them, and then looked at Ji Yunshuang in confusion. Why are you here too? Are you finished with things in the principality? You have to come here even if you're not done yet. Ji Yunshuang curled his lips and said, the reward for the mission in the 10th level space is 10 fragments of the Godhead. No matter what, I have to grab one, so that I can catch up with you as soon as possible. Ji Yunshuang was really worried about being left behind by Lin Yu, in terms of strength, and wanted to catch up with him as soon as possible. After all, she had wasted too much time in the past few days, in order to complete the path to becoming a saint. It would be impossible not to work harder, so I didn't chat with Lin Yu for too long. I said goodbye to those lords and left, heading towards the 10th level secondary space. After a while, he disappeared into the golden portal. Come on, let's go in and have a look too. After saying something to Ling Shi and Kong Ming beside him, Lin Yu teleported them directly to the junction, and plunged into the 11th level space door. Aha! The space was distorted. When he stood still again, he had arrived in a strange space, wrapped in the aura of chaos. Compared with the previous unstable spaces, the rules of this world are obviously much more complete, and the prototypes of the sun and the moon have begun to appear. If it continues to develop like this, more and more powerful monsters will definitely be born, and by then it may become a huge hidden danger to the Wanji continent. And what surprised Lin Yu was, in all directions deep in the space, there are pillars of light rising into the sky, supporting the entire sky above. If you count carefully, there are 99 ways, and it is very similar to the scene when he obtained the top 10 force powers in other dimensions. Could it be that these are all treasures evolved from the 10 forces of force? Lin Yu was surprised and happy. The treasures transformed by the 10 forces can enhance the power of his time law. If he grabs them all, his time speed will be greatly improved. If it reaches more than 10 times, by surprise, it can even control other 11th level lords instantly, making their movement slow down 10 times in a short period of time. Wouldn't it be easy to kill them by then? Come on, let's go there. This space has just appeared, and many lords have not arrived yet. This is a great opportunity to seize resources in advance. Without wasting time, he immediately summoned all the royal families, and more than 1,000 legendary soldiers, and rushed towards the green light beam nearest to him. Because according to previous experience, the effect of plant-type force on improving the law of time is twice that of other types of force, so it is natural to give priority to snatching it only. What Lin You never expected was, just when he cleared away the monsters along the way, and came near the light pillar, he discovered that it was actually a large monster lair. A large number of weird and twisted lord-level tree monsters were wandering around the light pillar, forming a deep and terrifying forest that was difficult to get even close to. His senses spread and he casually probed the attributes of the tree demon at the outermost edge. Name, Death Dryad, Lord, Race Plant, Level, 11th level, S level, Strength, 960,000, plus 768,000, Physique, 980,000, plus 784,000, Agility, 920,000, plus 736,000, Spirit, 960,000, plus 768,000, Skills, Swinging, Surrounded by Death Aura, Screaming of Fear, Sinking, Chaos, all attributes increased by 80%. Introduction: the death energy emanating from a dryad eroded by the death energy can cause life to wither quickly, and it will gradually sink in the withering. S-class Lord Monster. After reading the attributes of the tree demon, Lin Yu's eyes narrowed. The average attributes of more than 1.7 million have exceeded the level of 7 pieces of Godhead. It's okay to say 2 or 3. With the royal family and legendary arms, he can barely kill them. But there were more than 2 or 3 dead tree demons in front of him. There were at least 300 of the twisted figures that could be seen at a glance. If a swarm of swarms rushes forward, even the strength of 9 pieces of Godhead will not be able to withstand it. What's even more terrifying is that the death energy spreading from these dead tree demons penetrates and merges with each other, converging into a thick black mist throughout the lair, almost reaching the sky. If you rush in rashly, the consequences may be disastrous. The degree of danger in this large monster space is indeed much greater than the previous small spaces. Lin You looked solemn and seemed a little hesitant. If he could eat all 300 Lord monsters, he would be able to obtain more than 20,000 rule fragments, and the daily output of the Fruit of Faith would also increase by 5 to 600, not to mention the force treasure at the center of the lair. With such a huge temptation, he really didn't want to give up. Forget it, let's try the power of those dead energy first. Lin You thought silently. Now that the Lord's army has not arrived yet, he must act quickly. Taking a deep breath, he led the team carefully from the edge and stepped into the black mist area affected by the death energy. All attributes are reduced by 1%, and physical constitution is reduced by 1% per second. The death energy is superimposed by 2 layers. All attributes are reduced by 2%, and physical constitution is reduced by 2% per second. The death energy is stacked 3 times. All attributes are reduced by 3%, and physical constitution is reduced by 3% per second. Death energy is stacked 10 times. All attributes are reduced by 10%, and physical constitution is reduced by 10% every second. Triggers the sinking effect. Unable to launch attacks, lasting 5 seconds. Damn it. Lin Yu's expression suddenly changed, and he immediately retracted his stepped foot. In just half a second, a series of prompts sounded crazily in his mind. The death energy effect instantly reached more than 20 levels, and even the attack ability was completely blocked. What kind of Lord monster is this? It's just a debuff machine, and it can still be stacked infinitely. You must know that this is the effect of the armor of creation, after reducing the abnormality by 50%. Even this is so terrifying. How can it be done in full condition? In fear, Lin You immediately retreated outside, and the layers of death energy disappeared. However, the movement he made just now still attracted the attention of one of the dead tree demons. Roar! With just a roar, the death tree demon left its lair and rushed towards him with booming footsteps, and a large amount of death energy emerged from its body. Wherever it went, the weeds on the ground quickly withered into hay all over the ground, and finally turned into fly ash and disappeared. Go on. Get rid of it first. Lin You immediately issued orders to the troops around him. At the same time, the power of rules exploded, and the 4-leaf clover's protection and savage roar were activated at the same time, making all the plants' momentum suddenly rise. and the royal family's attributes suddenly reached more than 1.5 million. In an instant, the vines rushed out, like little snakes swooping towards the death tree demon, wrapping around its forward body. Then the thorn leaves continued to emerge, shooting straight towards it together with pea bullets, and mushrooms exploded on it. The remaining plants surrounded it, and the dense attack completely submerged it. Boom! At this time, a huge stream of death energy emerged from the dead tree demon, and spread rapidly in all directions. Death energy is superimposed by one layer. All attributes are reduced by 1%, and physical constitution is reduced by 1% every second. The death energy is superimposed by 2 layers. All attributes are reduced by 2%, and physical constitution is reduced by 2% per second. Lin You was stunned for a moment when he heard the prompt in his mind. He found that in the case of a single dead tree demon, a layer of death energy would be added almost every 10 seconds, which was much slower than before. Thus, it takes at least 100 seconds to trigger the sinking effect. It turns out that the reason why these death tree demons are terrifying is precisely because of their gregarious nature, which allows their negative states to be infinitely superimposed. Once alone, the 2 skills of death aura surrounding and sinking cannot be used. This death tree demon is equivalent to losing 2 skills at once, and the threat is greatly reduced. Kong Ming, purify and take a look. Immediately, Lin You found the key and shouted into the air. Kong Ming, who was assisting in the attack, received the order and immediately activated his purification skills. A bright green light suddenly bloomed from his body, covering a 1-kilometer radius in a blink. The death aura effect on Lin You, and all the plants disappeared. The layers returned to 0, and the attributes returned to their original levels. Without the suppressive effect brought by the death aura's reduced attributes, the death tree demon, that was swinging its branches crazily suddenly showed its decline, and was gradually suppressed by the plants. Seeing the savage roar, there are still a few seconds left. Lin You stretched out his arm, and a huge pea shadow appeared behind him, and the terrifying flame aura condensed rapidly. With the blessing of the 4-leaf clover, and the full state of savage roar, Lin Yu's mental attributes have reached 2.2 million. Coupled with the double attack effect of the fatal sniper skill, the basic mental energy has doubled and increased by another 1 million. The power of this attack is as high as 3.2 million. Even the S-class tree demon felt the threat of death and suddenly let out a terrifying scream. The sharp sound waves turned into ripples, causing all the plants around to fall into fear and confusion, and then ran back to their nests as if they were escaping. Boom! There was a deafening bang. Sparks exploded behind Lin You, and a stream of flames penetrated the void, and swept straight towards the dead tree demon. Not long after the death tree demon escaped, a large flame suddenly exploded from its body, and a huge hole appeared, penetrating through its trunk. However, it was not immediately dropped. After all, the defense and HP of 1.76 million are there. After deducting the defense, Lin Yu's blow only caused 1.44 million damage, and there was still more than 300,000 left to kill it in seconds. Don't let it get away. Seeing that the dead tree demon suffered heavy injuries and fell to the ground, Lin You immediately gave instructions to the plants closest to it. In the blink of an eye, the 10 royal families and legendary soldiers, who recovered from the chaotic state, once again caught up with the death tree demon, and launched a fierce attack on it. The death tree demon roared repeatedly, but Lin Yu's blow just now almost made it incapacitated. Before it could release its death energy, it was attacked by countless attacks and broke through its defense, killing it on the spot. Kill the 11th level Lord Monster, and obtain 1 billion mana. A reminder sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Good. Lin Yu stopped with satisfaction. With his current strength, he no longer has much pressure to kill S-class Lord monsters alone. Seeing that the dead tree demon died under the siege of the plants, he immediately teleported to the body and picked up the 80 rule fragments that exploded. After checking, no other treasures were dropped. Sure enough, the explosion rate is not generally low. Let's recover first. After saying something to the plants, he sat cross-legged on the ground, and activated his healing skills to recover. The second he stepped into the Dryad's lair, he lost nearly 20% of his vitality, that is, his blood volume. This percentage of blood loss skill directly ignores defense, just like Ivi's Bloody Kingdom. Only abnormal resistance and attribute suppression can be effective against it. Therefore, IV, which has much lower attributes than the Death Dryad, cannot exert the full effect of the Bloody Kingdom. Fortunately, his creation armor had abnormal resistance. If it had been anyone else, half of his life would have been lost in that attack just now. If you encounter someone who is more reckless and rushes indirectly, you may die without knowing how. That's all. After returning to its full glory, Lin Yu stood up again, led the team outside the lair, and continued to use the previous method to lure out the dead tree demons one by two and kill them. If the layers of dead energy are too high, use purification skills to remove them. He and Kong Pluto use skills in turn, occasionally relying on phantom clones to fill in the gaps, just enough to catch up with skill recovery. Without the threat of two negative skills, they killed the death tree demon very quickly. In less than an hour, nearly 2/3 of the tree demons had been eliminated, and reached the depths of the lair. I finally saw the treasure under the light pillar, a green leaf exuding a strong breath of life. Lin You was excited and wanted to continue to destroy the monsters and seize the treasures. Unexpectedly, at this moment, several urgent shouts suddenly came from outside the lair. Hurry, the treasure is just ahead. I've seen the bottom of that light. Hurry up and get the treasure before others. Someone came here so soon. Lin Yu's face darkened. The thing he least expected to encounter happened. It seems that people from other realms have received the news, and have begun to pour into this large monster space. It may not be easy to obtain the remaining force treasures. No more time was wasted. After taking a look at the remaining 100 dead tree demons, he gritted his teeth, put away his troops, and then teleported to appear next to the light pillar. Roar! The death tree demons surrounding the light pillar reacted very quickly, and immediately discovered his traces. With a roar, the raging death energy suddenly erupted, covering the entire center of the lair. The effect of death is superimposed by one layer. The effect of death is superimposed by 2 layers. The effect of death is superimposed for 3 layers. In just the blink of an eye, more than 50 layers of death energy were accumulated on Lin Yu's body. He was so shocked that he immediately activated his purification skills to dispel the negative effects. Then he activated the law of time without hesitation, reducing the flow of time around him by 3 times, restricting the movement of the dead tree demon. And he stretched out his arm, grabbed the life leaf, tore open the space and teleported away from the nest. Aha! In the blink of an eye, he appeared 2 kilometers away. In desperation, there was no way to build a stable space channel, and he could only teleport so far. Immediately afterwards, there was a loud bang, and the green light beam began to disintegrate rapidly. Without the support of the force treasure, it turned into spots of light and dissipated in the sky. What's going on? Why did that light suddenly disappear? No, someone took the treasure first. Come over and have a look. The things are gone. The treasure has indeed been taken away. Damn it, there's something wrong with these dryads. Get out of here. Vaguely, Lin You also heard a burst of chaotic shouts coming from the direction of the tree demon's lair. It seems that those who rushed over directly broke into the lair, but were deceived by the deathly atmosphere. They were really unlucky, but Lin You didn't think that the 11th level lord could be killed at this level. It would be an extra step, so he didn't stop. He tore the space away from here, and rushed in the direction where no one was around. It was not until they reached a small forest that they finally stopped to sort out the gains from clearing out the nest. Have to say, Lin Yu's gains from clearing the tree demon's lair this time were really huge. The first is the fragment of rules he is most in need of. This time, he killed almost 200 S-class lord monsters, each worth 80 yuan, and gained a total of 16,000 yuan, which was almost equivalent to his gains in the previous 3 days. The second is the Fruit of Faith. In the original universe, it immediately increased by 400, and with the addition of the lord monsters he had killed in the past few days, he finally succeeded in breaking through the 3,000 mark. Moreover, after absorbing the energy of the lord monsters, the civilizations in those galaxies have also achieved tremendous development, and have entered an era of universal cultivation. It is almost equivalent to multiplying from the ancient times to the ancient times. But what pleased Lin You the most was the life leaf he just got. Leaf of Life, plant type, a treasure condensed from one of the 10 major forces. After use, you can directly obtain 5,000 rule fragments. Unlike the force treasures obtained in the 10th level space before, the force treasures in this 11th level space are obviously much more solid and will not dissipate quickly because they are taken away. The most important thing is that the rule fragments obtained after use have increased 5 times, reaching 5,000 yuan. This is equivalent to more than 3 months of revenue for an established kingdom. At that time, I am afraid that it will attract many lords to fight for it. Although Lin You was in urgent need of the rule fragments, after hesitation, he still took the leaf into the original universe. The next second, the leaves were directly pulled, turning into a stream of light and integrating into the world tree, making the power of rules in the original universe more complete and solidified. Then Lin You clicked on his personal interface and took a look at the skill effects of the Law of Time. Law of Time, active. Form a time domain within a range of 13.9 meters around the body. Change the flow rate of time. Consume 10% of the power of the rules per second, and is not affected by skills other than the Law of Time. The effect increases with the original space. The maximum time multiple is 3.9 times. It actually increased by 0.4 times. Lin You was pleasantly surprised. The effect of this life leaf was twice that of the 10th level space. In this case, force treasures other than plants can also get a 0.2 times bonus. If this is the case, then he will have to get more force treasures. If the law of time can be strengthened to 5 times or even 10 times, then he will be worthy even if he faces an opponent with 9 pieces of Godhead. Very good, let's go check out other places. After making up his mind, Lin You didn't waste any more time, and immediately teleported out of the woods, and rushed towards the other force treasures at the same time. The light beams in the space are also decreasing. Gradually, the number of channels dropped sharply from 99 at the beginning to more than 80. It was obvious that other lords had begun to compete for the force treasures, and they had to speed up. If it doesn't work, he can only resist the attacks of those lord monsters, and steal the treasures. Anyway, he has many life-saving skills. Think about it. Lin You immediately accelerated his teleportation speed, and continued to shuttle through the void. As time went by, more and more lords came after hearing the news, and poured into the large monster space crazily, making the entire space become lively. There are figures fighting with lords and monsters everywhere. Even the lords are constantly at odds with each other, all competing for monster resources and force treasures everywhere. Some even did not hesitate to fight over it, and started fighting everywhere. For example, the white beam of light that Lin You was heading towards was already in chaos. Haha. I accept this lord monster. Want to steal the monster I like? You're still 10 years early. Get away. This place is occupied by us now. Occupied by you. It depends on whether you have the strength. Kill them all. There were constant shouts all around the entire pillar of light, and soldiers and monsters were in a mess, fighting fiercely outside the temple shrouded in holy light. And those monsters were all S-class angel-type lord monsters, constantly emerging from the temple, blocking the lords from attacking the temple. If you look closely, you can vaguely see an angel statue placed on the high platform in the center of the temple. It is a treasure condensed from the angelic force. As long as you can grab it, it is equivalent to killing 50 SSS level lord monsters. The lords will naturally not miss such treasures, and start fighting among themselves. It didn't take long for the lords to kill more than half of the lord monsters, and lead their troops to advance into the temple. Seeing the force treasure close at hand, all the lords' faces suddenly showed joy, and they all started to advance quickly inside. But unexpectedly, something unexpected happened. There was a sudden space distortion next to the light pillar, surrounded by a large number of lord monsters, and a figure appeared there, heading straight for the force treasure. Not good. Someone wants to steal the force treasure. Stop him quickly. The lords were frightened and angry, and wanted to stop him, but most of them sneered, without any intention of taking action, because there are hundreds of S-level angel lord monsters beside the light beam at this time, and they all have powerful attack skills. Even if a top 9-piece godhead teleports in, he will be severely injured in an instant. Only a fool would just rush in and die. Although 5,000 rule fragments were a lot, it was not enough to make them desperate. Peaceful realm. However, at this moment, a calm voice sounded. An old tree appeared in the center of the encirclement, sending out an invisible wave that enveloped the entire temple. As soon as those angels and monsters gathered the holy light and prepared to activate their skills, they were defeated by the wave and turned into energy and dissipated in the air. Take this opportunity. Lin You stretched out his arm and took away the angel statue. Then, under the astonished gazes of all the lords, the forest sage teleported away and disappeared, leaving only an empty high platform quiet. The entire temple was silent. The lords stared blankly at the place where the angel statue was originally placed, and it took them a while to react. Then there was a roar like a slaughtering pig, and an angry roar coming from the temple. But this has nothing to do with Lin You. At this time, he had already crossed space, and teleported thousands of kilometers away, hiding with his hidden aura. After confirming that the chasing tails had been thrown away, he finally calmed down his ups and downs and excitedly took out the force treasure he had just grabbed. Angel statue, Angel series, a treasure condensed from one of the 10 major forces. After use, you can directly obtain 5,000 rule fragments. He also didn't expect that the process of robbing the treasure would be so smooth. Without spending a single soldier, just relying on the invincible skills of the forest sage, he snatched it away from under the eyes of so many 11th level lords. If it weren't for the time recovery time in the peace realm being too long, he would have used this method to grab all the force treasures. Without thinking much, he immediately put the angel statue into the original universe, let it be absorbed by the world tree, and then looked at the changes in the law of time skills. Sure enough, as he guessed, it increased by 0.2 times, and finally succeeded in breaking through 4 times, reaching 4.1. It should not take long to reach 5 times, and at this time, there are only more than 70 light pillars left in the entire space. Not long after, he teleported away again, and continued to the location of the next force treasure. A whole afternoon, Lin You spent his time robbing and searching for force treasures. Thanks to his various invincible skills and the law of time, he finally obtained 4 force treasures when night came, one of which was of the plant type. Suddenly the effect of his time law was increased to 5 times. Originally he wanted to get more, but gradually he discovered that after the 33 outermost force treasures were all divided up by the lords, the remaining monsters guarding the deeper treasures had actually been upgraded to SS level, and the number is even more terrifying, often numbering in the thousands. Stop talking about him. Even the top lords with 8 or 9 goat heads were blocked by the lord monsters on this level. The speed of destroying the force was much slower, and no light pillar was seen disappearing for a long time. If this situation continues, the last 33 treasures will probably be surrounded by SSS level lord monsters, and the number will further increase. If you want to destroy all the force and draw it out of the core of space, you probably won't be able to do it in 10 days and a half. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he could just collect some more rule fragments and try to improve his strength. Just thinking about it, the 33rd light pillar, which symbolized the location of the force treasure, finally completely dissipated and turned into a point of light and disappeared between heaven and earth. Boom! Suddenly, a loud noise came. The entire monster space immediately shook violently. Then reminders sounded in the minds of all the lords. Lords, please note that 1/3 of the 10 forces have been destroyed, and the first space core has appeared. Please go to the designated location, destroy the space core, and complete the final mission. All those who participate in the mission will receive corresponding rewards. The first space core appeared so quickly, Lin You was stunned when he heard the prompt. He originally thought that the 3 space cores would appear together after all the force was destroyed, but it turned out that they appeared in stages. To know, destroy the space core, but you can obtain a designated godhead. Even if you don't get it, you can still get 10,000 rule fragments by participating in the mission, which is definitely a guaranteed profit. Who dared to hesitate? He immediately looked around, and after a while he discovered that at the other end of the space, the colorful light of the force was rapidly converging towards one place. Without even thinking about it, he knew that that was the core of the space. Immediately tear open the space and teleport over there. While teleporting, a private message suddenly popped up in front of him. Brother Lin You, I have found the target. I need your help. Please answer when you receive it. Lin You glanced at it and saw that it was a message from King Baidu. He chose to attack at this time. It seemed that he planned to use the chaos caused by the space core to kill the lords of other realms. Not to mention, this kind of opportunity is rare. Just in time to repay the favor I owed King Baidu. Lin You thought for a moment, then directly replied to the message asking for the meeting place, and then rushed towards the core of the space without stopping. At the same time, in all directions of the monster space, the lords from all walks of life who received the news also gathered quickly and hurried in the same direction. A melee is coming. Brother Lin You, here. After more than half an hour of traveling through space, Lin You finally arrived at the core of space and found the 2 lords Baidu and Baisu waiting there. As for the other 3 people who had acted together before, they were nowhere to be seen. There must be something wrong. What kind of target are you targeting this time? Lin You asked directly as soon as they met. I can't say it's a target. I just want to take advantage of this rare opportunity to see if I can miss it, Baidu said with a smile. Destroying the space core can obtain a designated godhead, which will inevitably attract a large number of lords to compete for it. If you're lucky, you might be able to find a suitable target. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even the beasts with 9 divine heads beside them were eager to try, their eyes gleaming. If nothing else happens, this designated godhead is very likely to create an additional emperor in the world. It will definitely make many realms mobilized to take it away. This is our chance. Indeed, Baidu nodded silently. But we still have to be careful. After all, this battle is of great importance. Although he and the 100 beasts each have 8 pieces of godhead and 9 pieces of godhead, the emergence of designated godheads will definitely attract a large number of top lords. If one of them is bad, the car may overturn. This is also the reason why they invited Lin You over, because the plant system not only has powerful healing capabilities, but also has various exclusive large-scale protective skills, and its life-saving assistance capabilities are top-notch. Coupled with the group explosion method and space blockade that Lin You showed before, even if there is no way to succeed, he will not be at a disadvantage. Okay, let's wait until we find a suitable target before we start. Lin You also knew that this battle was dangerous, and he might have to face a lord with 9 divine heads, so he looked particularly solemn. After thinking for a while, he calmed down and exchanged and absorbed all the 16,000 rule fragments collected today, and the 5,000 fruits of faith, accumulated in the original universe in the past 2 days to strengthen the agility attribute. With more than 80,000 attributes, he finally quickly and successfully broke through to more than 800,000. As long as you don't encounter more than 8 pieces of Godhead, escaping won't be a problem. Moreover, he has the additional explosive skill of Savage Roar, which increases all attributes by 30%, which is equivalent to having 3 more pieces of Godhead. Although he only has 5 pieces of Godhead, his actual combat power is close to 8 pieces. Except for slightly inferior strength and agility, there is basically no big difference. Coupled with the 11 royal clans, whose strength is comparable to 5 gods, and the legendary arms with higher basic attributes, it is still not easy to kill him. Coming just as he was thinking about it, the voices of the beasts suddenly sounded. Lin You and Baidu looked around with sharp eyes. I saw where the 10 forces of force gathered, a large number of powerful lords rushing from all directions, almost all over the sky and underground, surrounding the core of the space. The lords were wary of each other, and they were in small groups, and the atmosphere was extremely solemn. Lin Yu just took a brief look, and found that there were several top lords with 9 divine heads, and their aura was extremely terrifying. In less than half an hour, thousands of 11th level lords had gathered around, and the scene was extremely spectacular. The Realm Alliance and the Anti-Alliance camp each occupied one side, facing each other from afar across the rapidly gathering radiance of the force. Roar! Finally, a shocking roar sounded. The terrifying power turned into air waves, and swept around, knocking all the lords away. In the encirclement, a giant monster with a height of 100 meters and 10 different heads appeared in Evrion's sight. Name: Chaos Original Beast Sky Devourer. Race: unknown. Level: unknown. Power: 3.3 million. Physique: 3.3 million. Agility: 3.3 million. Spirit: 3.3 million. Skills: Primordial Power, Ancestor of Beasts, Chaos Control, Heart of Space. Introduction: the original beast born from chaos. Its strength will continue to increase as the space increases, and it has the terrifying ability to control the 10 major forces. After death, the force dissipates and the space is destroyed. 3.3 million. All the lords' expressions changed. This is just the first one, and it already has such terrifying strength. Not to mention Lin Yu, who was also extremely shocked at this time to know even his fatal sniper attack at full blast can only cause 3.2 million damage, and it can't even break through the monster's defense. And because of attribute suppression, the effects of his defense ignoring and defense reducing skills will be greatly reduced. Not to mention various abnormal states. This monster, it's not something he can afford to offend now. Immediately, Lin Yu came to a conclusion in his heart. He is not arrogant enough to kill the Chaos Primordial Beast under so many 9 Godhead Lords. After all, he only has 5 Godheads. It would be better to see if there is a chance to pick up the slack and kill the Lord of the opposite Realm Alliance. Do it. At this moment, a loud shout came from the crowd, and all the lords finally moved, summoned troops one by one to launch a fierce attack on the chaotic primitive beast that just appeared. In an instant, attacks flooded the sky, pouring towards the chaos beast, causing the entire sky to shake violently. The phoenix head among the 10 heads of the chaos original beast let out a long roar, and the monstrous flames exploded on its body, instantly turning the surroundings of its body into a sea of fire, incinerating all attacks. But immediately, the sea of fire was extinguished by a tidal wave of troops surrounding it. All the lords attacked fiercely, and their powerful skills came out one by one, turning into streams of light and continuously exploding on the chaos original beast. The momentum of both sides surged wildly, and they fought fiercely on this dark land. Come on, let's go up too. Baidu said something and rushed forward with his troops to attack the chaos beast. Lin Yu naturally did not stop, and followed him with the beasts. While fishing in the troubled waters on the side, he secretly observed the movements of the alliance in the opposite realm. It is different from the 10th order space. The camp concepts in the 11th level space are very obvious, and both camps are wary of each other, because they don't want the designated godhead to fall into the hands of the other camp, which will give the opponent an extra emperor for nothing, which will be very detrimental to their future wars. The lords of the Realm Alliance obviously thought so too. Although each of them seemed to be attacking very quickly, they all held back and did not use their full strength. Ka. At this moment, there was a sound of mechanical rotation. The mechanical muzzle on the chaos beast's back suddenly changed shape rapidly, turning into long crystal tubes densely packed like honeycombs. Boom. There was a loud bang. The long crystal tube exploded, shooting out lasers all over the sky. This flash of brilliance illuminated the entire sky in an instant, leaving only dazzling lasers that shot toward all the lords. Get out of my way. Defense skills. Turn on. Back off. Lords from all walks of life kept exclaiming. Faced with such powerful skills, how could they dare to hold back? They activated explosive skills and defensive skills one after another to resist the sudden laser rain. Lin You naturally doesn't need to say much. Before Baidu and the others could make a sound, Qin Gang below had already launched a savage roar, and a red light enveloped all three soldiers. At the same time, the power of the rules was condensed, the protective barrier was activated, and a huge semicircular light shield suddenly appeared above their heads. Boom boom boom. Violent explosions echoed in the ears. Dense laser rain continued to explode among each team, penetrating the bodies of each soldier type. Some of the weaker lords failed to react in time and were even directly hit by the laser, causing serious injuries. Even Lin You, and the three of them, who had 25% damage reduction from the protective barrier, struggled to withstand it, and each of them suffered varying degrees of trauma. Some military units suffered heavy losses, and were on the verge of death. Lingxi Sky Hidden Dragon, seeing that the laser rain showed no sign of stopping, Lin You immediately shouted into the air. After receiving the order, Lingxi Kongmin and Chanlong immediately led the Elf Elder, Lantern Grass, and Green Dragon Legion to appear, and group healing skills exploded one by one to treat their injuries. The Emerald Dragon Mother in the sky passed over their heads, spitting out a breath of life and drawing a straight green avenue underneath, instantly allowing their injuries to recover at a speed that was noticeable to the naked eye. Even those soldiers who were on the verge of death came back to life again. What a powerful healing effect. The beast's eyes widened and they looked at Lin Yu's treatment team in shock. The healing skills of military units are generally calculated based on mental attributes, and are evenly distributed to all treatment targets. The more treatment subjects there are, the more the treatment will be spread evenly, and the lower the effect will be. Ordinary soldiers would never have such a strong therapeutic effect on their level, but Lin Yu's troops were able to pull back their health despite such a fierce attack, and there are only a few hundred. To what extent have the spiritual attributes of these arms reached? Is this really an ordinary soldier? Not to mention him, even Baidu on the other side was very surprised, and at the same time extremely happy that he invited Lin Yu over. With Lin Yu here, at least they no longer have to worry about saving their lives. Very good. Keep attacking. Seeing that the laser rain gradually weakened, Baidu immediately shouted, and once again led his troops to attack the Chaos Original Beast. The other lords were not slow in their actions either, especially those lords with 8 or 9 pieces of goathood. After recovering, they immediately regrouped and once again surrounded the chaotic primitive beasts and attacked fiercely. For a while, there were roars and explosions. Countless attacks overwhelmed the Chaos Beast. The lasers and holy light of the mechanical and angelic lords filled the entire field, shooting towards the chaotic primitive beasts from all directions, illuminating the darkened sky like daylight. The primitive beast of chaos roared continuously, and its healing skills continued, but there was no way to break through the siege of the lords, so he had to use powerful skills to blast the surrounding troops into dregs, and there were more and more wounds on his body. The lord's side is not much better, almost all using the human wave tactic to pile up. As soon as a group of soldiers died, the next group of soldiers immediately appeared on top of them, and the corpses piled up in a mountain. At the same time, they had to guard against the explosion of the chaotic energy of the original beast. After nearly half an hour of siege, the primitive beast of chaos finally began to show its decline. Its aura gradually weakened, and it seemed that it was at the end of its power. Baidu's voice also sounded next to Lin Yu. Get ready for action. Hearing Baidu's words, Lin Yu's expression turned stern, and he silently joined him and the beasts. At this time, the field became chaotic because of the weakening aura of the original Chaos Beast. All the lords held their breath and concentrated, holding explosive skills in hand, waiting for the last moment to suddenly burst out and kill the original beast, and grab the reward of the designated godhead. Some of the weaker ones, who felt that the fight was hopeless, quietly retreated away from the center of the fight. Roar. At this time, the chaotic primitive beast in the center of the encirclement suddenly looked up to the sky and roared. The surging chaotic energy suddenly erupted, and swept towards the surroundings. Wherever they went, all types of soldiers were infected and mutated into terrifying monsters. Retreat. Fortunately, the lords had already taken precautions. With a loud shout, they teleported and retreated, easily dodging the dying burst of the Chaos Primordial Beast. When the aura of chaos dissipated, the original Chaos Beast seemed to have exhausted all its strength and fell to the ground, splashing large amounts of smoke and dust. When everyone saw this, they were overjoyed. Good opportunity. Come on. It's dying. Get rid of it. The mission reward is ours. The lords from all walks of life kept shouting and shouting, and they unleashed their strongest methods one after another. Waves of terrifying power emerged, sweeping across the entire world in an instant, causing the space to rapidly collapse, and the turbulent space turbulence destroyed everything around it. Even Lin You himself exploded at full power, swallowing up a large number of corpses underneath, and launched the strongest attack together with several royal clansmen. In an instant, countless powerful attacks converged on one place, completely submerging the dying Chaos original beast. Boom! The entire monster space shook violently. The terrifying power turned into a wave of air, sweeping in all directions, knocking all the lords back several miles away. The troops and monsters near the center of the explosion were directly turned into fly ash, and no scraps were left behind. However, even so, he still failed to kill the Chaos Beast instantly. Instead, a flash of electric light erupted all over its body, and it actually activated mechanical overload at the last moment of its life. Then the bloody body began to expand rapidly, and a heart-stopping aura gathered crazily. No, it's a mechanical self-destruction skill. It wants to blow itself up. Quickly retreat. Evrion's expression suddenly changed, and they obviously didn't expect that the Chaos Beast still had the strength to activate its self-destruction skill. Moreover, it also self-destructs under mechanical overload, and its power is directly doubled. In an instant, all the lords were so frightened that they retreated and even fled in panic, trying to escape through space. However, the Chaos original beast did not give them a chance to escape. In just one breath, the breath in his body has already accumulated to its peak. With a roar, the huge body suddenly exploded, and the destructive power instantly overwhelmed them and their soldiers. They vomited blood and flew backwards, flying hundreds of miles away like rags. Only a few people relied on their invincible skills and powerful life-saving skills to resist, and were not defeated by self-destruction. Among them were Lin You and Baidu. Fortunately, Lin You reacted in time and asked the forest sage to activate the peaceful domain. Otherwise, he might have been seriously injured like other lords. Baidu and Baisu were shocked. I never expected that Lin You had such a powerful group life-saving skill, and could actually block such a terrifying blow, leaving them unscathed in the self-destruction. Is this really a skill that arms can possess? Unfortunately, don't wait for them to think too much. A reminder had already sounded in their minds. Congratulations, you successfully assisted in destroying the space core, and were rewarded with 10,000 rule fragments. Assisted destruction. Hearing the prompt in his mind, Lin You frowned. It was not that easy to get the final kill from so many top lords, which made him feel a little regretful. If he had 8 or even 9 pieces of Godhead, the attack just now would have probably killed the Chaos Primordial Beast instantly. How could it be anyone else's turn? I don't know who got the Godhead reward. I hope it's not someone from the Realm Alliance. It seems like a lot of them are injured, and here's our chance. At this moment, Baidu's voice came, interrupting Lin Yu's thoughts. The original beast just exploded, seriously injuring more than half of the lords. It was simply a perfect opportunity for them. Let's go. Catch up first and then talk. The beasts didn't say much nonsense, and directly stared in the direction of the Realm Alliance's escape. The three of them looked at each other, immediately tore open the space, teleported towards the team of the Realm Alliance, looking for a suitable target, and disappeared into the endless void after a while. And at this time, in a forest not far from here, a hole suddenly opened in the space, and a beast-type lord covered in blood appeared with one hand covering his waist, leaning against a big tree and breathing heavily. In the explosion just now, he was at the center of the explosion. He had no time to escape and was hit directly. If he hadn't been wearing a piece of life-saving equipment, he would have been blown to pieces, and he wouldn't have been able to escape the scene. It's really unlucky. I wouldn't have gone if I had known it. The man cursed secretly, looked around, and saw no one noticed him, then sat down on the ground, took out the healing potion and tried to recover. However, at this moment, his expression suddenly changed, and he turned over and jumped out almost without thinking. Puff. There was a muffled sound, and several wooden thorns rushed out from the ground and tree trunks, where he was originally, and passed through the side of his thighs with dangerous risks. Who? The Beast Lord looked around as if facing a formidable enemy, but what greeted him was a loud rumbling sound. In the dark forest, a large number of vines suddenly appeared, and surrounded him from all directions. A large number of leaves even floated up from the sky, turning into sharp arrows and shooting towards him. Damn it! The Beast Lord looked gloomy, not knowing that he was being targeted. With the strength of his 6 pieces of Godhead and his severely injured body, he couldn't fight at all. He immediately tore open the space and wanted to teleport away from here. Void space. Unexpectedly, a cold voice sounded at this moment. An invisible wave appeared, covering the entire forest where he was, immediately interrupting his space shuttle skills. Immediately afterwards, a large roar of beasts came from the forest, and countless beast soldiers rushed out crazily, quickly surrounding him with glaring red eyes. The Beast Lord was horrified. I didn't expect that the other party would actually have space blocking skills, and there were two of them together. Suddenly there was an explosion under the soles of his feet, and his whole body rose into the sky, flying straight into the sky without any intention of accepting the challenge. However, when he rushed away from the treetops and came to the sky above the forest, he found that the picture in front of him suddenly turned upside down, and another forest appeared above his head. He plunged straight into another forest, and the gravity also reversed. Fantasy. The Beast Lord's expression changed. The illusions that can affect him must be at least 5 pieces of Godhead level. In his current state, he is definitely no match. Break it for me. Roaring angrily, the aura all over his body exploded, shattering a large area of void with one punch. Finally, the scene in front of me changed and returned to the original forest. In front of him, Lin You and his 3 men stood impressively, and their army of soldiers had already unknowingly surrounded him. Grass. The Beast Lord cursed again, feeling the auras of Baidu and the beasts that were stronger than himself, and immediately rushed out without hesitation, trying to break out of the void space. You can't escape. Baidu directly detonated the mechanical overload, instantly doubling its attributes. He immediately arrived in front of the Beast Lord and punched out. Boom. Ah. The Beast Lord screamed and vomited blood and flew out. Lin You and Beisu behind them followed suit, attacks pouring out one after another, and the vines below rose into the sky. The Beast Lord gritted his teeth, took out a bottle of bright red beast blood from his personal space, and drank it in one gulp. His aura suddenly surged. Drink. Amidst the loud shouts, a giant dragon phantom appeared behind him, and then punched out, defeating all the attacks of Lin You and the beasts. The power remained unabated, forcing Lin You and the two of them away at once, blasting a space crack between the two, and successfully breaking the blockade of the void space. Taking this opportunity, the Beast Lord escaped directly into the void and disappeared. Chase. Baidu looked stern, tore open the space and chased after him. Lin You and Beisu looked at each other and also put away their troops and followed him. However, when they traveled through space and stopped the Beast Lord again, they discovered that 4 lords from the Realm Alliance were rushing towards them, in the distance. They seemed to be companions of the Beast Lord, who had come here specially. Haha, you can't kill me. The Beast Lord laughed proudly and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. At this time, the lords of the 4 realm alliances also discovered them, and teleported over even faster. This is trouble. Baidu and Beisu looked gloomy. They didn't expect that the other party had companions nearby. The mechanical overload on Baidu had just ended, and the negative effects appeared, making it impossible to launch any attacks or skills for a period of time. It was basically impossible to kill the Beast Lord again, so they suddenly wanted to retreat. Only Lin Yu's expression remained unchanged. After taking a look at the 4 lords coming from the opposite side, he immediately whispered, "I can hold them off for 10 seconds, and you guys will find an opportunity to kill him." After saying that, he launched a savage roar and teleported directly towards the 4 people. Before the 2 of them could realize what was going on, an ancient clock dial suddenly appeared behind Baidu. With a ding sound, the pointer pointed to 0, restoring his state to 1 minute ago. This is the countdown to the end of the angel system. Baidu and Beisu glared and exclaimed, "A plant-type lord can actually use angel-type skills. What kind of method is this?" But immediately, they reacted. Not caring much, Baidu immediately activated the mechanical overload, and rushed towards the stunned Beast Lord again. The beasts exploded in unison, and together with the beasts and mechanical units below, launched a fierce attack on him, not giving him a chance to teleport and escape. The people who are actually besieging us are so brave. When the 4 people who came over saw this, they shouted angrily and wanted to rush forward to stop them. But at this moment, Lin You teleported and appeared in front of them, and the law of time broke out. With a buzz sound, a distorted wave enveloped them all. The originally extremely fast movements slowed down instantly, as much as 5 times slower than before. What? The sudden change caused the expressions of the 4 members of the Realm Alliance to change drastically. This was the first time they had seen such a weird method. Except for thinking, everything is as slow as a tortoise, and even the power of rules in the body cannot keep up with their thoughts. What kind of ability is this? Before they could think about it, Lin You, surrounded by the laws of time, had already arrived, and 2 phantom clones like him appeared beside him. The gluttonous feast begins. 3 huge piranha flowers appeared in front of them and bit the 4 of them. The activation speed of this skill is much faster than the fatal sniper, and there is no need to accumulate momentum. In almost the blink of an eye, the 3 huge mouths have fallen. Get out of my way. Hearing an angry shout, the 4 people exploded with momentum and gathered a large amount of protection. In front of them, boom, the 2 sides' attacks collided violently, exploding a large area of terrifying energy, destroying everything around them. Lin You looked solemn. With this blow, he had already sensed the opponent's strength. 2 8 gods and 2 7 gods were much stronger than imagined. Although he temporarily suppressed the opponent with the law of time, his basic agility and attack were still low. Just at this level, there is no way to pose a threat to them, let alone kill them within 10 seconds. Fortunately, he was only responsible for delaying time, otherwise it would have been very difficult for him to face 4 11th level lords by himself at the same time. And just after a few people stabilized their bodies, the power of rules in his body also dried up, and the law of time was lifted. It just took 10 seconds. However, just as the 4 members of the Realm Alliance were surging with aura and preparing to jointly attack Lin You, a shrill scream suddenly came from a distance. The Beast Lord, who was already seriously injured, had half of his body shattered by Baidu in a mechanical overload state, and his body exploded into a ball of blood mist. Then he reached out and made a move, and a piece of colorful godhead exuding a wild aura appeared in Baidu's hand, shouting to Lin You, "Retreat." As soon as the voice fell, he immediately put away his troops and escaped through space. Lin You didn't hesitate, threw a handful of explosive mushrooms forward, and also recalled his troops to catch up with them. Just as the 4 people were about to pursue them, they were pushed back by a violent explosion. By the time he came to his senses, Lin You had already disappeared. Even his breath had completely disappeared, making it impossible for him to catch up. Damn it, let them get away. The 4 of them looked at the direction in which Lin You and the others disappeared with gloomy expressions. If it were normal times, they would never let the enemy escape so easily, but the original beast's self-destruction just now caused them all to suffer varying degrees of injuries, so it was not easy to pursue them. In addition, the space is now full of dangers, and they may encounter people from other realms at any time, so they dare not act rashly, and can only watch Lin You escape. I sensed that they were not coming after me. Lin You, who was traveling through the void, slowed down and soon arrived thousands of kilometers away, quickly joining Baidu and the others. "How's it going? They're not chasing you, are they?" Baidu asked quickly. Among the 4 people just now, 2 were 8-piece goat heads. They were more numerous than them, and their overall strength was superior to them. Coupled with the negative effects of his mechanical overload, it is even more impossible for him to be an opponent of those few people, so it is always right to be careful. "Don't worry, we've got rid of it," Lin You said with a smile. When he just escaped, he made several turns to make sure no one was chasing him, and then he came to join them. When Baidu heard this, he let out a long sigh of relief, and then he immediately excitedly took out the beast-type godhead he had just obtained. "I finally got it, thanks to the help of you 2 this time, otherwise I don't know when I would have gotten it." He now has the strength of 8 pieces of godhead. After absorbing this piece, he will be able to reach the level of 9 pieces of godhead like the beasts. Naturally, he will be very excited. "Why are you being polite? You didn't have any share in getting the godhead before. It's just something we owe you, and now we've paid it off." 100 Beasts laughed. "I'm just repaying the favor of 200,000 rule fragments last time," Lin You said immediately. Although he also lacks the beast-type godhead, this operation is focused on Baidu after all, and his main purpose is to repay the favor from last time. After Baidu absorbs this piece of godhead, including the beasts, their primitive world is equivalent to having 2 more top lords, with 9 pieces of godhead. It was really thanks to this monster invasion that they had such an excellent opportunity. It would not have been so easy in normal times. If nothing else, if you need help with anything in the future, just come to me. Baidu didn't show any pretense. After saying this, he took the godhead into his personal space again, planning to absorb it after returning to the kingdom. After all, it is not very safe here. Absorbing the aura fluctuations caused by the godhead will attract the covetousness of others at any time. Being besieged will not be worth the gain. "Let's go, it's already dark, let's get out of here first." Baisu looked at the completely dark sky and said, "At night, the atmosphere of chaos will be more restless than during the day. In the 10,000 Realms continent and the monster plane, it's okay, and the impact is not too big. But this place is in the void of chaos, and the surrounding chaos atmosphere is extremely strong, which may increase the strength of the monsters." Therefore, they did not stay any longer, and continued to travel through space, rushing towards the door of space, and disappeared into the vast night after a while. Until late at night, Lin You finally returned to the territory. Seeing that the lights in the capital were gradually extinguishing, he did not do anything else and went directly back to the palace to rest. Prepare to continue collecting rule fragments in the monster space tomorrow. Time flies. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. During these 10 days, Lin You focused almost entirely on hunting down the Lord monsters and collecting rule fragments. During this period, except for some frictions with other lords over the competition for force treasures, nothing noteworthy happened. On the 8th day, the second space core finally appeared, but unfortunately, he still failed to get the final kill this time, and only got a consolation prize of 10,000 rule fragments. But thankfully, with various life-saving means and the law of time, he successfully grabbed 8 force treasures, 2 of which were plant-based. In one instant, the multiple of the law of time was increased to an exaggerated 7 times. At this time, he was even confident that he could suppress the 9 Godhead Lord for 10 seconds. Another thing that makes Lin You happy is the rule fragments. Although the hunting efficiency of SS level Lord monsters is much lower, you can still get about 6,000 yuan every day, counting the daily output and task rewards of almost 4,000 yuan in the original universe. He finally accumulated 120,000 rule fragments on the 10th day, successfully strengthening his agility attribute to full value. Name, Lin You. Lord. Race, human. Level, 11th level, 5/10. Strength, 500,000, plus 250,000. Physique, 1 million, plus 700,000. Agility, 1 million, plus 500,000. Spirit, 1 million, plus 500,000. Basic skills, multiple mutations, power of rules, space shuttle, rule transformation, space channel, time law, power of Godhead, all attributes plus 50%, racial talent, physical fitness plus 20%, recovery speed plus 20%. Introduction. The Lord attribute interface records the specific strength and various skills of the Lord, which can be unlocked by 10th level lords. Strengthening agility to full value consumed nearly 70,000 rule fragments. The remaining 50,000 Lin You was not used to strengthen his strength because the strength attribute had the lowest benefit for him, and it was better to hide behind as a remote output for safety. Moreover, he has too few legendary troops, which greatly affects his speed in hunting down Lord monsters, so he used the remaining rule fragments to mutate more than 4,000 legendary arms. Adding the previous ones, the number was exactly 6,000, which doubled several times. But the biggest improvement is the royal arms. Basic attributes have soared to nearly 900,000. When the explosion is fully activated, it is equivalent to the level of 7 pieces of Godhead, including Lin You himself. The combat power of 12 7-piece gods took action at the same time. Just thinking about it is terrifying. How many people can stop it? It can be said, until today, Lin You finally had the capital to compete with those veteran lords, and also had the capital to kill other low-level lords to seize the Godhead. It seems we have to hurry up and find a suitable target, Lin You murmured to himself, his expression gradually becoming serious. But immediately, his brows relaxed again, because today is the day when the fragments of the Godhead in his original universe mature, and he has just collected 3 fragments of the Godhead. It is time to establish the remaining 3 principalities. After thinking about it, he teleported away from the capital at the same time. The southern end of Xinyu Kingdom, in King Yun City, the 9th level territory in charge of the southern region. Lord Shen Hui, as usual, was discussing territory affairs with his subordinates in the meeting hall of the city lord's mansion, handling matters of all sizes. Sudden, the space on the side was distorted, and a figure appeared out of thin air in the hall. Shen Hui and his men, who were discussing the matter, were stunned at first, and then were shocked. Your Majesty, why are you here? Shen Hui quickly stood up from his seat, and hurried to Lin You to salute. Those subordinates who had never seen Lin You were shocked when they heard his words, and hurriedly ran behind Shen Hui without daring to express their anger. It's nothing, I just have something to tell you. Lin You glanced around at the people in front of him and said calmly, Your Majesty, just tell me. Shen Hui will do his best, Shen Hui said solemnly, with a very serious expression. When this land was first divided into the Xinyu Principality, he was only at the 7th level. It was His Majesty the King who allowed him to continuously improve his strength to reach the 9th level, and also allowed him to take charge of the affairs of the southern region, which gave him his current status. Therefore, he was extremely loyal to Lin You, and took care of his affairs with all his heart and no carelessness. However, what he never expected was, the moment his voice fell, Lin You suddenly turned his hand, and a crystal shining with colorful light came into view, making his eyes suddenly widen.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.